Um, that's just the going rate. It's just what these guys are making. We can argue about it all day long and do whatever you're going to do. And him and Hall, I'm just telling you, if you're going to try and get somebody that can help you to play next year, unless you go find a diamond in the rough and, one double A football. And I'm not saying those guys aren't out there. Because somebody over on YouTube made a really good point. Tony, Aiden O'Connell was like a third string guy when he walked on the field with Purdue that day, but it ended up being that Aiden O'Connell ended up playing in the NFL. That's a point well taken. But when he walked on the field, they went against the Vols. That's a guy that nobody knew who he was. Brian. So, and by the way, GMAC is not going to be your starting quarterback next year, which is kind of fun, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Brian Hartman, how are you doing this? What is your answer here?
Okay. I would look at defense first. I think they can get quarterbacks. There's plenty of those guys that they can get that could have successful, but you got to have defensive guys. You got to fix the defense first. You got to go out and get some lockdown corners, upgrade at safety, and also get the studs up front to pass rush. You got to get that done. I think that's where their most glaring needs were. Offensively, they'll find pieces that'll be really good, but defense is where you have to prioritize. But that's me.
I think I look at next year's roster, Bry. I think we already have a couple corners on our roster that can play. Gibson, if he comes back healthy, that's an if. And then the freshman last year is a nice player. Obviously, Colton Hood's on to the NFL. Obviously, McCoy's on to the NFL. Cinco, is there anybody else in the secondary that we could elevate that could help us from the secondary? What do you think?
I really don't know, because a lot of those young guys, they're all the same. With all due respect, I wouldn't count on Caleb Beasley or one cornerback, but I'm prioritizing experience and production. Guys, that I'll even dip down into the group of 5 or 1 double A for people that have started, that have played, that make tackles, that make interceptions. It just body language means James Franklin got fired over a 2-week stretch, and he's way more accomplished in his career than Josh Heupel ever thought of being. What he did at Vanderbilt, throwing up 10 wins a year at Penn State, and he got asked a question after two weeks. You don't have time. You better get it right now.
Could the Perlotti kid help at safety, Sean? That's a question I've wondered about. Or is he too big?
I don't think so. It's a totally different body type.
Back to the phones we go. Let's get
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
And here we go live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's the Playbook presented by VIP Play with Brett Hudlander and Jackson Freeman. I'm William Pattison. We appreciate you listening along with us, however you may be doing so on this fine Wednesday from Knoxville, Tennessee. We appreciate all those who came out yesterday to Smoky Mountain Brewery and Turkey Creek. A very fun time yesterday. Enjoyed being able to do a remote show there and appreciate those at Smoky Mountain Brewery for having us. Great time yesterday. On today's edition of the Playbook, however, we've got plenty to talk about, including a new name for that Tennessee defensive coordinator search. We've been talking about Ryan Walters of Washington, but there might be another name to know now as some things are unfolding at a Big Ten school that just hired a new coach. We'll tell you more about that here in a little bit. We'll also tell you about the 7 volunteers that were named to the coaches' all SEC teams on Tuesday, and a couple of big names, a couple of surprises as well. So we'll tell you about that. And then we'll also have our best bets look ahead presented by VIP Play as we get ready for Army and Navy this weekend. And bowl season officially kicks off with the LA Bowl between Washington and Boise State. We'll take a look at those bets. And then also in hour number 2, we'll do our contending questions as we always do on Wednesdays, bridging the storylines from championship weekend into the postseason. And we'll also talk about Tennessee basketball, where they stand ahead of a big-time matchup against Louisville next week. So we appreciate you listening along with us. We'll welcome in the rest of the crew, beginning with Brett. Brett, how are you on this Wednesday?
Doing well. Yesterday was a lot of fun. They rolled out the red carpet for us over there at Smoky Mountain Brewery. It was a fun day for us and the drive and everybody else that came out, so we appreciate that stuff. Just reading up on some more of this defensive coordinator stuff. Got some interesting news from the man himself, man of mystery, Walters, yesterday as well. So he had some interesting comments. And, you just really don't know where things are going to lead right now. It seems to be a new name popping up every couple hours. So I don't know if it's exciting times or not, until you land somebody. So, excited to get to talk about it today.
And Brett donning a very festive sweater.
Yeah. My club, Arsenal, play this afternoon at 3:00. So what better time to rock my Christmas Arsenal sweater?
There you go.
Gift from the wife yesterday, actually. So
nice.
Early Christmas present. So shout out to her and that. So I'm always down for a good sweater.
Well, when you came in originally, I was like, Brett, the holiday party's not till tomorrow here at the office. I thought you were.
I have something already for that too.
Okay.
I'm ready for a good time. So
yeah, we'll be full on some good food by the time we come on the air tomorrow.
Do you have your own section since you're a very picky eater?
I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Jackson, how are you? Happy to have you back. How have exams gone or final projects and such gone? It's been good. I'm done. I finished up on Monday with a really easy gen ed journalism exam. It's a class I took at Ole Miss as a sophomore, I think, but the credit didn't transfer over, so I just pushed it off until this semester. It was really easy. Got an A on the only other project I had. So, yeah, it's been good. Got blessed with some great news last night. The Royals got the number 6 pick in the MLB draft. They had an unbelievably minute chance. I don't know the exact number, but like 0.1%. And they were supposed to get the 16th pick. Really a chance to draft a pro-ready college player and, maybe swing for the fences this year.
Interesting. Well, I saw just like a couple of minutes ago, Pete Alonso is headed to the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm not a baseball guy, but I do know Pete Alonso.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money for that guy, but
yeah.
And he's coming over from the Mets, correct?
Yeah, so as a Braves fan as I am, it's nice to see him out of the division. But yeah, it's a lot of money to fork out for that guy. But we'll see. But
some good news out of Kansas City for Jackson.
Yeah,
there's not much going on.
I was going to say that's about the only good news coming out.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hinting at that. But yes, well, congrats to your Royals, and there's still some time for the Chiefs to maybe.
No,
you're out. He's out.
We've already been talking about it for the last 30 minutes.
I'm ready. I'm looking forward to the draft.
Wow.
It's almost mock draft season. It is for a lot of people on Twitter that I interact with.
Wow.
ESPN had him mocking Jeremiah Love.
Yeah,
really.
It's stuff like they're projected the highest,
be a good spot,
like the highest pick in a long time. Maybe you lose a couple more games, you can slide into the top 10.
Yeah. Hey, good quarterback class too. Diego Pavia playing for the Chiefs here soon.
I don't need a quarterback, but I wouldn't mind a David Bailey from Texas Tech.
Yeah, there we go. I like that one.
Or a Jeremiah Love.
Good out. Yeah, I like that one.
That'd be nice.
Well, we appreciate those on the YouTube chat as well. Cameron says, "Good afternoon, William. Wish me luck on the rest of my studies. Best of luck to Cameron Boulay 5222 on the rest of his studies." And what's up to Buck, who says, "Afternoon, sports fans. We appreciate you listening along with us." Now let's get into the action. Our first things first topic today, as Tennessee's defensive coordinator search continues, and Tennessee football has a well-documented search on its hands right now. For the first time in 5 years, Tennessee looking for a defensive coordinator. And this was Josh Heupel's first firing as a head coach. So that tells you that this is uncharted waters for Heupel and company. But as we know, the Vols parted way with Tim Banks on Monday after 5 seasons, and Tennessee gave Banks a contract extension after last season's run to the college football playoff, largely on the banks of that defense, no pun intended. But after a poor 2025 season defensively, Heupel decided to make a move and look elsewhere for the Vols' new leader defensively. And On Three's Pete Nakos and Chris Lowe reported Monday that Washington defensive coordinator Ryan Walters was one of the names to know. We've talked a lot about him this week, talked about him yesterday at Smoky Mountain Brewery, and he seems to be the leader in the clubhouse right now. But if you ask him, it'd be news to him.
Yeah.
As Walters in a press conference Tuesday, as the Huskies prepared to take on Boise State on Saturday in the LA Bowl, said that the rumors around Tennessee are just rumors, and that he hasn't been contacted and he doesn't know what all of this is about. And I have a hard time deciphering if he's being truthful, because you want to take everyone and what they say in being truthful. But also we know the current landscape of college football where guys will deflect and say, oh, just rumors, not much to it, and then wind up in a couple of weeks taking the job. We all watched Lane Kiffin and that whole saga unfold for a whole month. Now, Kiffin never explicitly said no, but you know these coaches like to kind of dance around. I don't know if Walters is that way. I know he's a former head coach at Purdue, so maybe he's learned the head coach speaking ways during his time as a head coach for the Boilermakers. I don't know, but I buy some of this from Walters. I buy the part that
rumors will be rumors. And that's a very vague statement. There could be a lot of different things out there that are deemed rumors. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that there is a connection between Tennessee and Walters. There is a connection with Heupel and Walters previously during their time at Missouri on staff together. I think there are some connections. And he's been in the SEC before. He has been with Josh Heupel before. And he's one of the top defensive coordinators out there. I think that is a mutual thing. I think that he would be the top guy. And another thing, too, Pete Nakos and Chris Lowe aren't just pulling a rabbit out of a hat saying Ryan Walters is one of the top guys to know about. The people I talk to aren't pulling a rabbit out of the hat saying, oh, Ryan Walters. You know how many defense coordinators and defensive candidates there are in the country? You don't just pull that name out of a hat with no, prior knowledge of the situation. So while I do buy that, some of this stuff just may be rumors, I don't entirely buy that Tennessee is not involved with Walters at any point right now because, as Chris Lowe reported on Monday, Tennessee wants to be pretty quick in this hiring cycle, wants to be able to find that next guy as you've got the transfer portal coming up here in a couple of weeks as you're trying to firm out what your staff is going to look like. And yesterday we listed off a couple of those contracts that are expiring for current assistants, William Enge being one of them, a former Washington linebackers coach. Now, their time did not cross paths Walters and Enge, but that's just an example of guys that have expiring contracts here soon. You need to firm out your roster, firm out your coaching staff heading into the offseason. So there is some timeliness to all of this, and those contracts for those assistants is a part of it. So I buy half of this from Walters. How much do you buy from this, Brett?
Yeah, he was kind of speaking out both sides of his mouth. Obviously, he's not going to admit in a press conference getting ready for a game that, I'm talking to Tennessee or I'm talking to such and such school. And maybe they are just rumors. Maybe he's not wanting to talk right now to these schools till after their season, which he has every right to do. Fortunately for us, they do play Saturday, so maybe we can afford to wait a few more days if he's our guy and things like that. But you got to think that Chris Lowe and some of these guys are connected, like you said, to these things. You take their word for it as well, that they're not just going to put a name out there to put a name out there. So. But we spoke a lot about him. I mean, he'd be a good fit. He's a young guy. As you said, you like the fact that he's on the sidelines, can engage with the players and things like that from a ground level perspective. So that'd be a nice change. One thing that, just reading on some of the articles that kind of worries me a little bit is, depending on who you can fit in there, one thing he said is that his defenses usually take a giant leap after the first season. So that kind of worries you a little bit because, you really don't have, as a Heupel, you don't really have time to waste. And you don't like hearing that. Like, we need you to come in and do the job this very first year. So, but it does take time. That's the risk that any of these guys he brings in, they're going to want to run their own scheme. We got a younger team, things like that. So that's a little worrisome, but yeah, for the numbers he put up with his defenses and the experience that he does have, even at a young age, I think it'd be a massive win for Tennessee on the defensive side of the football.
Well, one thing I'll push back on with that is that, Illinois is not recruiting the same type of caliber players as a Tennessee. Illinois in the Big Ten is going up against Michigan and Ohio State during the time that he was there. And, Wisconsin was still a team with some credibility during that time as well. And I think, as I proposed yesterday, once you come into Tennessee, where you've got a group that Ronnie Garner has recruited at a very high level, you've got some of the high-end talent in the country. Tennessee just rattled off a top 10 recruiting class. I think the talent pool will be stronger than anywhere he's ever been. So while it has been an adjustment to get that type of production from those guys over the course of 2 seasons, I feel like it could be a little bit easier from when he gets to Tennessee. But, I mean, if he's making those type of strides within 2 seasons, though, that tells me that's a guy that can make an instant impact, because I know everyone wants results immediately, right? Like, you hire a new coach, LSU this year, everyone's going to be expecting they're in the national championship. That's going to be the expectation. But in reality, when you get a new guy in, you've got to continue to build. So I wouldn't say that his numbers at Illinois are necessarily a bad thing, but I understand what you're saying. Jackson, to you, when you look at Walters and what he has said, do you feel like he'd be a good fit? And then also, what do you make of his comments?
Yeah, I think he would be a good fit. I mean, when that news first broke, I know it was a few days ago. I quickly went to College Football Reference and looked at his history of defenses, and I mean, it's a body of work that I can get behind. The stuff about it needing a year to kind of develop kind of worries me because, like you guys have said, there isn't a whole lot of years to really play with for Josh Heupel. But as far as his comments, I think that's just the typical coach speak, smoke and mirrors. Just trying to throw people off the scent. I think because they do play an early bowl game, we'll probably find out before too long.
Buck chimes in and says next season is going to be rough, and if a defense takes a year, could be really rough. And I don't necessarily disagree, but again, I think you've got the personnel in place to where the defense doesn't have to be rough next year if you're able to implement the right type of system. Now, another name to think about, Jim Knowles, Penn State defensive coordinator. Now, if Walters truly is not the guy, that means Heupel's got to have something up his sleeve right now. And Matt Campbell, Iowa State's head coach, has since taken the job at Penn State within the last 4 to 5 days, was officially announced on Monday. Jim Knowles was the highest paid defensive coordinator, highest paid coordinator, period, this college football season under James Franklin's staff at Penn State. A little bit of a history lesson. Knowles has some experience up against this Tennessee team. Last year, Knowles was with Ohio State and was the defensive coordinator for them as a part of that 2024 national championship run. Or I guess they won in 2025, whatever you want to call it. But regardless, this is a guy that was highly coveted this past offseason, takes the job with Penn State. And, you know, while Penn State didn't have that great of a season, Knowles is still well respected and known as one of the best defensive minds in college football. Now, Pete Nakos of On3 reporting that Campbell is going to bring over his guy from Iowa State to try and take that job. Now, he said he's going to try to bring him over. It's not confirmed that he is, but if he does come over, that means Knowles is going to be without a job. And that would be a top market guy as a free agent. So that's a possibility right now. Jim Knowles of Penn State, an option for Tennessee if he is not retained where he is currently at under Matt Campbell's new staff. So what do you guys make of Jim Knowles? Because I think he sometimes plays his guys a little bit out of position. I did not like the way he played Zane Durant this season. I thought he was a little bit out of position. He tried to, put some of these guys like Denai Dennis Sutton in some different roles as well. I thought last year what he did at Ohio State was really, really impressive, but that was a very impressive defensive personnel regardless. I felt like that would have been a good defense anyways. I think Knowles is really smart, but I wonder how much of last year's run was due to him or due to the talent they had on that team. So I think for Tennessee, you need a guy that can implement a system and implement the correct type of defense, because I don't think talent's necessarily the issue. You had talent at all three levels this year. Now, it varied in terms of how many talented guys you had. Colton Hood, an NFL projected pick. Joshua Joseph's really, really strong off the edge. Arian Carter. Obviously, you're missing Jeremiah McCoy and Ricky Gibson, but there were aspects of this defense that were really strong. You didn't have that same type of personnel on both ends of the field, on both sides of the field defensively. But I'd say the scheme and communication was one of the biggest issues. So is Knowles a guy that can come in and do that with the type of talent that Tennessee already has in place? That's the big question for me. Brett, what would you make of Knowles?
I mean, you could do worse. That's for sure. I mean, this guy is well respected. He's always going to have a top defense. I mean, just looking at their numbers, it was a terrible season for Penn State. I mean, obviously you fire a coach and the expectations were through the roof for that team. So it was disappointing in that regard, but for the most part, his defense showed out. A top 30-ish defense in the country. Did well against the pass. Actually had better numbers than I think right around what Washington did. So, I mean, like I said, you could do worse. You don't like the fact that he is a little bit older. So, how much is he getting out there and on the recruiting trail and different things like that? But name alone, that might carry a lot of weight with some kids that might know him. I don't know this day and age, but yeah, I mean, he's got a great background and he knows how to run a defense, and he's definitely an upgrade over what you had again. So I think I'd be fine with a Jim Knowles. And a lot of these guys we're mentioning, I think I'm ultimately going to be all right. I'm come back to saying the same thing. I think that he brings the attitude, and that's the biggest thing. I think he's going to hold guys accountable, and we'll see about this positional thing, as far as that goes. But yeah, I think you could do a whole lot worse than Jim Knowles.
Moving into next season, we know that Josh Heupel is going to face a lot of pressure. Not making the college football playoff this past year, a 4-loss regular season, including losses to
all your rivals.
You did beat Kentucky.
Oh, Lord.
Vanderbilt. And you beat Florida. Let's give them that Florida game. I know it kind of got lost into the abyss. That Florida game was still very impressive. But Vanderbilt, a loss. Alabama, a loss. Georgia, a loss. And then you lose to Oklahoma at home as well. 2 losses at home, three losses at home. 3 losses at home. Something we haven't seen under Josh Heupel in a very long time. So heading into next year, there's a lot of pressure to get back to the standard that was set 2 seasons ago where you were in the college football playoff with an offense that was pretty lethargic. The defense was really, really solid, but you showed that you have the type of pieces in place, or can have the type of pieces in place to win games in the SEC and make it to the college football playoff. Once you set that precedent, that is then the expectation year in and year out. Back-to-back years of going, 4 or 5 losses in the regular season is not going to be acceptable. So next year is going to be a huge year, and you've got to nail this defensive coordinator selection, because I don't think his seat is going to get any. And I'm not saying it's warm right now. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but I'm just saying it's not going to get any cooler by having a 4-loss season next year. And next year's got a better, tougher schedule.
Yeah.
So nailing this defensive coordinator hire is the first step in what will be many steps in an important season for Tennessee football next year. Transfer portal knocking on the door right now. You got to get this knocked out so that you can bring in these type of top-tier players necessary. The budget reportedly is expanding for what Tennessee can do in the portal. I would expect a quarterback. I would expect a lot of defensive players, because offensively, you've got Mike Matthews, you've got Braylon Staley. You figure to have much of your offensive line back, and you add in a Gabriel Osenda that I think could play day one.
TK Keys.
And you got TK Keys at wide receiver as well. Your running back room, pretty solidified right now. I think defense is where the bulk of this group needs to focus on in the transfer portal. And look at a couple of big schools right now that are in the college football playoff. David Bailey, as Jackson mentioned, a transfer from Stanford, been one of the most impactful edge rushers throughout this season.
And their other edge rusher, Romello Height, came from Georgia Tech. I mean, they have almost their whole defense is transfers.
Exactly. And I mean, you look at Texas Tech's defense.
It's like Jacob Rodriguez said, if you're going to buy the team, might as well buy the best one.
Exactly.
So,
and I'd be fine. Look, I think the offense is fine. Now, you got to go get a quarterback. That's going to be a big chunk. But I think the defense is the big thing. And if you've just got the personnel defensively, I think you'll be fine. I'd throw 70% of the budget on the defensive side of the football in terms of the portal.
I mean, the 24 defense was good enough to make Banks' scheme work. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So
I'd look at the transfer portal right now. What percentage would you say? Let's say you're given $20 million as a budget.
Yeah,
what percentage of that would you give to the defensive side of the ball?
All of it.
13 to 14 million.
All of it.
I mean, 13 to 14, I think buys you
safety, an elite safety.
3 or 4 high-end players.
Because I think you have the potential to already have 2 starting corners out there.
Yeah,
with Redmond and if Gibson comes back.
I think Gibson is going to come back.
Your quarterback's going to be anywhere from $3 to $4 million. I think that's the only thing you really need to spend on the offensive side of the ball, unless you
need
have
another running back.
Well, I would like right now.
Bishop missed games already. I think you need a little bit more in the passing game out of them too. We saw a lot of drops out of them.
But what do you like? Maybe a Dwayne Morris is able to step in that running back 2 spot, and that's kind of been what Tennessee has done over the last couple of years. It's just been a guy steps up that's already been in that room.
Yeah, but I think you missed that. I mean, Sampson was so dynamic and stuff like that. Like it was crazy. And as much as Heupel loves to run the ball, I just think you missed you weren't as explosive in the backfield as you've been before. You didn't have the threat of home run. I don't remember very many long runs out of this team, but
I mean, I'd say Bishop in the second half of the season had a couple of big ones.
I think you're set everywhere else. I mean,
Star Thomas would rip one off, and then they wouldn't hand him the ball off.
Well, he's out. So. He's done, right?
Yeah. Well, I know, but he would. I don't get why he didn't get more touches this year.
I would allocate $13 to $14, $15 million to your defense. Go get a quarterback for $3 to $4 million. Go get a running back that can be behind Deshaun Bishop for 1 to 2. And I think that's a good year, a good transfer portal cycle.
Do you need offensive line?
Well, it depends. I mean,
Pendleton's done,
probably
right?
A center. I mean,
Satterwhite, you think could come in?
Yeah, you hope Satterwhite's ready to go.
Mo's gone, right? Wendell Moe. Or was he
I think Moy can still come back for a year.
Okay.
And you've got Sanders.
Hurd's not going to go pro. You don't think?
I don't know. I think if there were, I think Hurd could.
The blessing would be him coming back.
Yeah,
another year.
I think if Hurd comes back, that'd be huge. But also, you got to. I mean, David Sanders is going to be back. Osenda's going to be a day 1 starter in my eyes right now. Satterwhite, you hope, is going to be ready to go.
Jesse Perry's already coming back.
Jesse Perry's been really strong. Yeah.
Wendell Moy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the 2 big question marks offensively right now would be quarterback and a backup running back behind Deshaun Bishop. And then everything else should be unloaded to the defense.
Oh, absolutely. I still think you need help up front, more experience. I don't think you've got a great class coming in. And you've got a couple
Campbell
of good
players from last year as well.
Yeah, those guys played and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think Hobbs is back. So, I mean, you're probably going to lose Josephs, to the draft, I would think.
Yeah.
He's probably a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
So
I think in terms of portal players that leave Tennessee, I think the most notable on the offensive side of the ball, I'd expect Peyton Lewis. Peyton Lewis has been banged up. I think he would be one of the main guys to go.
Now, let me ask you this. Matthews was a highly decorated safety out of high school, too. Georgia wanted him as a safety.
Oh, no.
Do you put him over there? You bring in something? I'm just asking the question.
No.
I'm just asking the question.
You're not moving a guy that had 800 or 700 yards receiving.
You got a lot of weapons out there. You got Travis Smith that's wanting to play.
I don't think,
you got Radarius Jackson.
If you tell
you saw those drops Mike Matthews had.
If you tell Mike Matthews to go to the defensive side of the ball, he won't be here any longer.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I mean, look, you coach sports, you play sports.
You ask the question. If you ever already have a guy on your roster that has the potential to play safety in a high level, he can't be any worse than Farouk and Tarantine were back there.
I think
the reason he came to Tennessee because they were playing him at receiver, but Georgia wanted him as a safety.
Well, I think
Ohio State wanted him as a safety.
If he came here as a wide receiver, though, I don't think he's going to be willing to switch over.
I'm just asking the questions because you got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball.
I agree.
Coming back,
I agree.
So I'm just asking a question, man.
Okay.
I don't shoot the messenger.
Is there any chance we see Heupel give up play calling this offseason and either give it to Halsey or get a different guy in there?
That's something that we can talk about on the other side. Stay right here. It's the Playbook presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Attention service members and veterans. Introducing the Griffin Law Firm, your trusted ally in military legal matters. From court-martials to benefit claims, at Griffin Law, your mission is their mission. Here's VFL Marshall Griffin.
As a veteran and retired military attorney, I've successfully defended lifelong benefits and helped preserve professional futures. So I know that when you hire a military justice lawyer, you maximize your chance to get relief. With my unique experience, I can advocate for you because there's no military matter that's too big or too small. Let us help you make these critical decisions that could affect the rest of your life. Remain silent. Request counsel. Call Griffin Law.
For a free consultation, call 888-707-4282. That's 888-707-4282. Or just visit griffinlawdefense.com.
The following radio theater is brought to you by Men's Pro Knoxville.
Hey, Dad, you want to play football?
No, buddy.
All right.
Pops, want to work out?
Maybe later.
Hey, kids are in bed. What you up to?
Tomorrow?
You've got one life, and it's too short for not nows, maybe laters, and tomorrows. If you have ED and performance issues, your family, friends, and even your career has already been affected. Book your discreet evaluation at Men's Pro Knoxville and turn your tomorrows into
today.
Yes! Touchdown!
Come on, one more, Dad.
Today!
Push, Dad. One more. Come on, push.
Hey, kids are in bed. What you up to?
Tonight.
Call 865-544-8220 or book now in under 30 seconds at menspronknoxville.com. Men's Pro Knoxville, for every man in every season of life.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your home exterior needs. If your home needs new siding, windows, doors, gutters, handrails, a deck, or a new roof, then give my friends at North Knox Siding and Windows a call at 865-689-0505. You can also visit their showroom at 5618 North Broadway. Locally owned and operated and proudly serving all of Knoxville and the surrounding areas, North Knox Siding and Windows. Online at northknoxsidingandwindows.com.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Got a flat tire? Strange noise under the hood? Don't stress. Roll into Matlock Tire and Auto Service. From oil changes and brake repairs to brand new tires, Matlock's certified techs do it all. Fast, friendly, and fair priced, Matlock is the home of the price match guarantee. Bring in any competitor's ad and Matlock will match the exact same tire for the exact same price. Matlock Tire and Auto Service. 5 locations in East Tennessee. Visit matlocktireservice.com to find the location nearest you and schedule your appointment.
That's right. That's right.
All right, back here on the Playbook presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Wednesday. Jackson asked a good question before we headed to the break. Talking about, should Josh Heupel continue to call plays heading into next season? I think it's something to think about because when you look at Tennessee's biggest struggles over the last couple of years, it's been game management in some key spots. I mean, this year specifically, go back to the Georgia game where Tennessee is having false starts right before lining up your kicker to kick what would have been a game-winning field goal. You know, kind of being a little bit conservative after getting a big turnover that then Georgia held you to just 3 points. You go up by 8. Georgia goes down and matches it to tie the game. Against Alabama, a poorly handled late half situation in that first half results in a 99-yard pick six. Against Mississippi State, you had 2 timeouts at the end of regulation because you didn't use them correctly. Against Vanderbilt, kind of the same thing in the end of that first half. You didn't call timeouts in a necessary time to allow yourself to get the ball back. There were a lot of game management issues sprinkled throughout the season that came into play into a bigger role of not winning games. So I think it's definitely something to think about. And while I think Heupel is an awesome offensive mind, I think he's got to pick either A, I'm going to have a coach with me that's going to be my game manager coach and make the decisions, or I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to hire an offensive coordinator that does everything. I mean, Lane Kiffin, his offense was implemented at Ole Miss, but he had other guys like Charlie Weiss next to him that, called the plays and made decisions and the game, play-to-play stuff. So I would say my opinion would be Josh Heupel, step aside, be the head coach of the team, be the manager of decisions, and get a guy that you trust to call the plays and work with him on that. That would be my take right now. Brett, what about you?
He just needs help in certain situations because, I mean, we were top, 10 offense in the country, statistically all season long. Just the big moments. He came up small. I don't know if he'd know how to manage the team if he's not calling plays. I don't know. I think almost he'd be better as the offensive coordinator, and he'd bring in another head coach overall because I think he loves calling plays. And I think we all agree he's pretty good at it, but yeah, it's just his late game, his clock management, some big moments. He comes up small. He's kind of lost his fastball a little bit, and, kill shots, things like that, putting teams away. So it's hard to say, but yeah, I just think there was a lot that went into the season, off the field stuff and different things like that maybe lost his focus. You just need him to find his love for the game. He just looked kind of just lethargic out there a little bit at times, and it was a rough season. So, but I think he was okay this year. It's just he's got to figure out these big play situations, red zone situations, and it costs us some games, and it's unfortunate to see because we all say he's changed this program for the better.
Jackson, you asked the question, your answer, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you look at the current playoff field right now, there's not a single head coach that calls his team's plays. Every single team, the head coach, he might assist with the calls, but the offensive coordinator makes the call. So I think that says a lot. I mean, you look at Ohio State last year. Up until last year, Ryan Day called the plays. They didn't win a national championship. They bring in Chip Kelly. Boom. They win a national championship. And I'm not saying that has a direct correlation, but it's pretty telling. It allowed Ryan Day to focus on more of the game management, just the complete game. A lot of criticism on Josh Heupel is that he doesn't even know what's going on with the defense during the game because he's so focused on the offense. And I mean, it's a really big job making sure the offensive play call gets in and all that stuff. But when you're trying to make that last drive of the half and you're worrying about the play call and making sure all the players are aligned right, but you've also got to worry about the time. I mean, it's tough. And I think it might be just too much. I mean, I've read articles this season of former players involved or not involved with the Heupel program saying that they just think he has too much on his plate on game days.
Yeah.
And if that's obvious to someone outside of the program, then it might be even more obvious to people inside the program. So I think I don't know that he'll make the change because, like you guys said, he loves play calling. He's been a play caller for a large majority of his career as a coach. So, but I think it's a necessary one.
Buck chimes in and says, I've heard all kind of opinions on JH and calling plays. Someone said yesterday that there's a coach that calls plays down and he picks what he wants to run. I've never heard of this. I believe that to be the case. I mean, so I think Halsey and him work hand in hand on the play selection. Now, there are some that he probably overrides in those late moments. But in my understanding, it's kind of like a two guys playing the same role right now, where Heupel is directly involved with the play calling, but it's more so like, all right, here's what the look is. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Type of deal. And I think that's still a lot of brain power, still a lot of attention on something like what's our next play going to be while the play clock expires, while a timeout needs to be called, stuff like that. So I just think if Heupel were able to be the head coach of the team and have the opportunity to manage those game situations that can get tight, I feel like this would be a little bit more of a seamless transition in those final moments of these games, in the final moments of these halves where Tennessee needs to execute a little bit better. And like even against Oklahoma, you faced a 4th and 2, 4th and 1 right before you had to call a timeout because just guys were not ready. Guys were not set, like stuff like that. And that timeout ended up, could have been costly because that took you from 3 timeouts down to 2. Now you can't stop the clock in the 3 timeout method that, teams like to use to try and get the ball back. So there are a lot of instances throughout this season that make you say, gosh, how is this still happening? Why is Tennessee bad in these moments? I think just having too much on his plate during these games is a reason why. Anything to add?
Well, I mean, it's just what you want. You want the offense was really good this year. I mean, we've said that. I mean, Aguilar led the conference in passing. We've led the conference in rushing 2 years prior. So his offense has kind of been all over the place and things like that. So, 24, the offense was not great, but your defense was great. So I don't know. I'd agree he was bad. He was just bad in the big situations and things like that. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's as simple as handing over the play calling to somebody else. I don't know. You just have to trust your guy. I don't really know the answer to this question, to be honest. I don't know, because you're afraid to hand it over to somebody else, and what if it goes off the rails?
Yeah.
And things like that. So, there's so many offensive analysts that he's hired, and so many. Maybe there's just too many of those guys, too many speaking heads in there, and I don't know. So I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. It's what you want as a team. Do you like how he goes fast? Does he need to change that? Does that affect things? Everything's so hectic. So I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I really don't.
I think to go a little deeper into it, I really think he would benefit from bringing an outside guy in to that offensive coordinator role. And I really think, the offense was better this year. The changes they implemented they worked at times. There were still other times where your offense was extremely predictable, like it's been in years past. And we're in year 5 or year 4, whichever one it was. It's too far down the road for your offense to still be predictable.
Would you be saying this, though, if the defense was as bad? Because you should be able to score as many points as we did per game and win a majority. Like you score 41 against Georgia. You have
agree.
A defense, you win.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But also, what I look at is situational moments, because you might be able to just outscore a Mississippi State or outscore a Kentucky, but when it gets to the college football playoff, the championship teams have coaches that are elite in all facets. They're able to manage the game correctly in the high stakes moments. And I'd say that's where Tennessee drops the ball in a lot of these games, regardless of Tennessee's offense being able to put up points or Tennessee's defense being able to get stops. Like, you have to have a guy that is focused on the game flow and making the right decisions, because sometimes those could be very costly and have been.
Is Heupel a good enough coach to hand over the reins? Because I don't see him being a good enough head coach to handle the rest of the team.
We don't know because we haven't seen it. But to play or to go into the predictability of the offense, I was sitting in the student section for the Vanderbilt game. There was this drunk guy behind me that every time they would kill the play at the line of scrimmage, they would motion Ethan Davis over. The guy behind me would yell, "Oh, they're handing it off inside." And that's what they'd do every time for 1 or 0 yards.
But we also said the offense got better. Like, he added new things, new wrinkles.
That's what I'm saying. I think they need an outside voice to kind of mesh with his offense to where you get a true, more of like a pro style offense that has more effective. Because the wide splits, Art Briles stuff, it works until it doesn't. And there's no way that we've seen once it stops working to really kind of right that ship.
I don't know if Heupel will ever go away from the offense that he runs, but I think if you're able to add a guy alongside you that can just take the reins of calling the plays, it's not like if he gets a guy to call the plays, he's not going to be able to have any touch in it.
I agree. Still his team, yeah.
But he needs to be able to make the decisions in the crucial moments. And I feel like we can't judge him based off what we've seen because he's still very involved in the play-to-play offensive aspect. But the fact that, Tennessee continues to have this issue, I think is a pretty telltale sign of something needs to be changed in terms of the game management.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate defending Heupel because I think he's on the hottest of hot seats. Like I would have. I mean, this year was just terrible for all the reasons we're talking about, and I just think if you take that role away from him, like I can't see him being an effective head coach. Because his strength is the offense, and as you said, I mean, he'd still be very involved in this offense. He's not just going to let it go completely and things like that. But your offense doesn't have to be like great. I mean, you look at this playoff picture. There's not like just amazing offenses going in it. There's actually probably better defense that is going to be played in this playoffs than there is offense.
Yeah,
I think defense is going to be the name of this game in this playoff format. Honestly,
yeah.
So I don't know.
All right, when we come back, it's our best bets look ahead presented by VIP Play. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on a Wednesday.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Your smile says it all, so make sure it's saying the right thing. At Knoxville Smiles, we believe healthy teeth mean happy lives. Whether it's a routine cleaning, whitening for that big event, or fixing a nagging toothache, our gentle team is here for you. With flexible hours, family-friendly care, and the latest technology, Knoxville Smiles makes every visit stress-free. Don't wait another day to love your smile. Call Knoxville Smiles today at 865-539-1776 or book online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group at Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life. It's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at boknowshouses.com.
Feel this. America got a thing for the skinks. They love me. Black truckers, black.
All right, back here on the Playbook presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you listening along with us, however you may be doing so. Now time for our best bets look ahead presented by VIP Play. Folks, college football season still is alive and well with bowl season and the college football playoff on the horizon. So now is your best time to get in on the action.